Hello, Ezequiel. Thank you. Great to see you.
Hi.
We are starting in 55 seconds. So please stay. We are muting you, and when you're ready, you will have the sign to start when you're unmuted, then you will start. And you follow Charles's introduction, please. Thank you. Hi, good day to all of you, and welcome to this second day of the Transitstation 2021 Voice number 3 webinar this weekend, which started yesterday. For the third of the Transitstation Voices series, we are presenting a weekend webinar with Zoom performances incorporating projections and sound, featuring 16 international artists working in various backgrounds and genre. The event has been curated, hosted, streamed, and recorded by the Transitstation team. Live events of the Transitstation event have been taking place in London 2003, Berlin 2005, Edinburgh 2006, and in Copenhagen 2010. Now, after 10 years, Transitstation has been inaugurated with a new website, transitstation.org. Over 124 international artists have become part of the Transitstation journey. And through the Voice number 1, which was the first international project this year, there has been an increase of about 50 artists from South America, Mexico, Spain, and India. The outset of the Transitstation methodology is to embrace all genres and experimentations in the fields of visual arts and performing arts. Experienced together as an entirety, and the question, can the event claim itself to become the artwork, remains. Voice number 3, this weekend, Maneuver, is part of Transitstation Voices series, dedicated to maintaining the spirit of liveness in performance and live art, still exploring situations when the live artist, in this instant, is not present in the public since last year. The Maneuver is an orchestration by way of taking a risk to navigate between one's own movement in the presence of known and claimed restrictions. Those margins of the two-dimensional visual screen. And the directive negotiation does not seem to leave the home at this moment and is limited, but maybe also extended to the intimate environment, which is disguised, reformatted, composed, and appropriated. Though the question to the consciousness remains to release and maintain the liveness. Now questioning the liveness through virtual technologies when engaging in the process of devising this webinar. It can be acknowledged that in its entirely possible way of presenting film and two-dimensional screen imagery, that it does influence our sense of reality, at least to a point. Voice number 3 this weekend features 16 international artists in performances dedicating their work together with the projection of sound and moving image to create liminal in-between spaces at the edges of perception. The projected image and the composed, directed, and collected digital sound creates the edges which are defined and presupposed in a life situation, these margins of perception in the life situation can stay unknown and diffused. And today, on Saturday, September 4, we welcome Eleni Kolliopoulou from Greece, Sandra Corrigan-Breathnach from Ireland, Patricia Korrêa from Portugal, Jeong-eun from South Korea, Sundar Lama from Nepal, Ezequiel González Camaño from Uruguay, living in the US, and unfortunately, Tatiana Koroleva from Russia, who is also in Canada at the moment, has fallen ill and she cannot perform live for you today. However, we will stream her video, which she has prepared for us in tomorrow's webinar of voice number 3. All participating artists are being introduced individually by charts writer before they start their performance. At the end of the day, we will have time to share observations, reflect, and refer to the public via the Q&A. Ending at approximately later.
Hello, everyone. I join with Dagmar in welcoming you all to voice number 3, day 2. The international artists participating in this project have devised a wide range of compelling and imaginative performances for Transitstation's ongoing virtual program. We opened today with Blind Time Action 2, a performance by Eleni Kolliopoulou. Eleni is a visual artist interested in the intersection between performativity and philosophy. Initially trained as a painter, her research has focused on the abstract relation between color, line, and shape. In her paintings, she conceived of the picture surface not as a two-dimensional picture, but always as a living area. Eleni was recently awarded the degree of philosophy for her practice-based PhD in arts. Her thesis, quote, "The Body of the Relationship, a practice-based exploration upon the relationship between the body and its environment informed by the notion of the Buddha body," unquote, focuses on the psychophysical aspects of Buddha, with its potential to enrich the viewer's immersion in installation art. Eleni uses performance-based art because she perceives the body as a container and conveyor of mind-body intelligence, where different strata of experience take place and unfold. Her performance today is a response to Robert Morris's Blind Time drawings of 1990. Her aim is to explore these questions. Does the obstruction of our vision enable our presence in a deeper psychophysical sense? How is her time perception informed and transformed when performing blindfolded? And how is the time perception of the audience influenced by her temporal experience? To what extent is our presence controlled by the gaze of others? What is revealed when I perform while being blindfolded? From Greece, this is Eleni Kolliopoulou's Blind Time Action 2. Thank you. Thank you, Eleni, for sharing a beautiful visual, tactile, and sonic experience. Just when I thought I knew what was happening, something new and different would happen. It was beautiful, lovely. I would next like to introduce Sandra Corrigan-Breathnach, Sandra is an interdisciplinary artist working mainly in performance art. Her practice includes elements of sculpture, drawing, photography, video, and sound. Following a period of collaboration with artist Alistair McLennan, Corrigan-Breathnach and McLennan created their 2018 performance installation exhibition, Breath and Blood, at the Burren College Gallery, County Clare, Ireland. The exhibition included live performance, drawings, video, sound works, and sculpture. Other collaborations include working closely with artist James King, creating Pollinate, their 2016 exhibition combining live performance, video, animation, photography, and sound at the Void Gallery in Derry. Sandra's recent performances include Interference at Sounding Out Derry, Through the Eye at Pepa Madrid, and an 8-hour collaborative performance, Flux in Flow, again with Alistair McLennan at the Golden Thread Gallery in Belfast, noted by Aidan Dunn in the Irish Times as one of the 5 best art exhibitions to see this week. In her artist statement, Sandra says, quote, "Performance art allows me to enter an existential plane where the vein of an innate knowledge as beings in this world is explored through both time and photographic mediums, both live and photographic mediums, culminating in a lexicon of works that seek to communicate, focusing on the narrative between objects and action, with live works incorporating vibrations of sound and energy, developing forms through performance actions and mark making." In her performance for voice number 3, Sandra explores our connection to the metaphysical world, a dimension to the human condition that can create tension, giving a sense of being separate while simultaneously being part of nature. Here from the wilds of Ireland is Primal Release by Sandra Corrigan-Breathnach. Thank you, Sandra. Speaking for myself, I was immediately struck by the filmic quality of your performance, the open book-like design of your projection, and the painterly effect of the washing metaphor. I would next like to introduce Patricia Korrêa. Patricia is a visual artist and social researcher focusing on performance and live arts. Her work is durational, ritualistic, and feminine, spanning performance art, sound, video, and installation. Working with performance art as an expanded medium for poetic signification, she builds links between the object's sign and signifier. She has been developing projects that increasingly focus on the spectrum of the poetic realm in live art. Patricia has exhibited and performed in public spaces, galleries, festivals, and museums, including the Grimm Museum in Berlin, the City Museum of Lisbon, Sao Tome Art and Culture Biennale, the Circle of Time Performance Festival in Torun, Poland, the Varsovie Performance Festival in Warsaw, the International Performance Festival in Nicosia, Cyprus, the Biennale of Performance Art in Bogota, Colombia, and the National Museum of Contemporary Art in Lisbon. She is founder and curator of the YAM Performance Art Festival in Belgium and the Portuguese Performance Art Platform. Patricia's performance for voice number 3, The Prose of the World, is inspired by the unfinished work by the same name, by Maurice Merleau-Ponty, whose aim was to offer us, as an extension of his book, The Phenomenology of Perception, a Theory of Truth. The work will show that our embodiment is central to our consciousness and self in a virtual world, approaching the body, perception, and consciousness in relation to nature. From Portugal, this is Patricia Korrêa's The Prose of the World. Thank you, Patricia. The dual image approach that you created for your performance is a great contribution to the idea of maneuver. And I also note at the very end that there was a kind of symmetry. Your entrance and your departure were symmetrical, and that was quite interesting too. It will be great to discuss these things during the discussions later on. The next performance is by Jeong-eun from Korea. Jeong-eun is an interdisciplinary artist working with dance, installation, objects, and pottery. She is currently based in Seoul and was previously based in London. She experiences her body as a laboratory of change. Through dance, she studies how she relates to herself, to others, and to the world around her. She says that she is a bit perfectionistic and that she is shy. She used to want to become independent and solo. Now she tries to be a body that stays together with other bodies. She practices dance every day, alone, working with space, time, rhythm, imagination, emotions, directions, and pauses. She makes recordings of these. In her concept notes for voice number 3, Jeong-eun writes, quote, "I will project a video recording of my dance practice. I will dance with my dancing self in projection. I am having a conversation with myself from another time. I am not alone when I am alone. My dance is a trace of invisible peoples. My body is being made of traces of all those who I meet," unquote. Jeong-eun encourages us to consider how projection can be seen as immaterial, bodiless, floating imagery that has no material substance. Yet, once projected, the material surface on which the image is projected becomes a double or a simulacrum of wall, body, fabric, or object. Jeong-eun suggests that the projected image disappears without a trace when power is switched off. Or maybe there is still a living trace on the material surface even long after the projection fades. Here from Korea is Jeong-eun Bak's Little Sister, Big Sister.
Okay, it is Dagmar and not Jung. Jeong-eun may have internet problems. She has not arrived at our webinar at this very moment. And I would like to ask you to kindly be patient and bear with us to maybe for her to emerge towards the end. If not, we will let you know. Thank you very much. At this time, we would take a short interval to keep the schedule. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. I really enjoyed giving the introduction to Jeong-eun because much of it was quoted from her statement, and it was utterly charming and interesting. So I look forward to doing it again. I would now like to introduce Sundar Lama. Sundar was studying management when he was inspired by a friend who was practicing tattoo art. Sundar started visiting art galleries, then searched for a place that provided art education. This is how he got into Nepal Fine Art College. He started to research human behavior and human surroundings, especially those with roots in ancient culture, a situation characteristic of contemporary Nepal. In his work, he started to incorporate curious cultural motifs and philosophical positions to explore the metaphysical dimensions of creativity. He continued this exploration in his master's degree, so that now his art stands on its own as an individual entity while retaining significant elements that manifest the Nepaliness of his work. Sundar has explored his creative identity through installation and performance art, collaborating with artists in Bangladesh and Japan. He now prefers to call himself a pluralist who believes in initiating conscious experimentation by merging various genres of art such as performance, installation, video art, and painting. In his notes for voice number 3, Sundar says that his performance, quote, is about belief. Every human itself a god, but some of a reason that really cannot appear to be, can't not appear to be. So touch is needed to get inside, to feel inside. Rather, it's unconscious or not. Joining from Nepal in a space that can't not appear to be, Sundar Lama's Am I a God No More? Unconscious touch.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sundar. And it's really amazing to know that through this technology, we are allowed to enter Nepal so far away, and the internet connection was stable, so great. And we are now welcoming Jeong-eun. She has arrived, and I give you back to Charles for another just brief introduction to her performance, which is following now.
Hello again. Let's see, I'll go, since everyone attending has heard Jeong-eun's introduction, I'm not going to try to edit it live in real time here, but I'll just go through it as I did before, but a little bit faster. Jeong-eun Bak is from Korea. She is an interdisciplinary artist working in dance, installation, objects, and poetry, currently based in Seoul and previously based in London. She experiences her body as a laboratory of change. Through dance, she studies how she relates to herself, to others, and to the world around her. She practices dance every day, alone, working with space, time, rhythm, imagination, emotions, directions, and pauses. She makes recordings of these. In her concept notes for voice number 3, she writes, "I will project a video recording of my dance practice. I will dance with my dancing self in projection." Jeong-eun encourages us to consider how projection can be seen as immaterial, bodiless, floating imagery that has no material substance. She suggests that the projected image disappears without a trace when power is switched off, or maybe there is still a living trace on the material surface even long after the projection fades. Here from Korea is Jeong-eun Bak's little sister, big sister. Thank you, Jeong-eun, for creating a compelling, mysterious, and living traces performance with your dance and dance projection. Tatiana Koroleva will not be joining us today, but we will be screening her video during tomorrow's Voice number 3, Day 3 webinar. Today's final performance will be by Ezequiel González Camaño, after which we will take a 5-minute break and then come back together for 30 minutes or so of conversation about today's work. Ezequiel González Camaño is a Uruguayan-American playwright, author, performer, and multimedia artist based in New York City. His work situates itself at the intersection of radical queer political art, decolonial resistance, and anti-surveillance performance. From a theoretical and practical vantage point, he questions the constant surveillance of queer Latinx subjectivities and desires, utilizing digital and analog techniques of fragmentation and manipulation to obscure, darken, to persist, and to rebel. González Camaño's work has been developed through the New Cosmopolitans and the Irvington Theater in New York. He is currently an artist in residence with the Orchard Project Greenhouse. In his artist statement, Ezequiel says, quote, "As an artist, I am wholly interdisciplinary. I weave together my anthropological training with TikTok videos. I juxtapose my grandmother's myths with radio dramas you can only pick up past midnight. In sum, a Sagittarian Latinx echo storyteller at the cusp of the digital revolution." For Voice number 3, Ezequiel presents Más Caras, literally more faces, playing on the Spanish word mascaras, or masks, to explore the commodification of Latinx identities as well as resistance through the performative body. Performing here as Yackie Kennedy, Ezequiel writes, quote, "I put my body on the line. fractured by an audiovisual gaze of Latinx stereotypes as I layer mesh masks on my face, disguising them by drawing on exaggerated prosthetics, layering the masks until breathing becomes difficult. A montage of Latin American commercials and advertisements caress the body, while a synthetic audio suffuses the performance, combining sounds of Latinx urbano, TV dramatics, and a reading of Marxist psychoanalyst Leon Rosichner's Freud y los límites del individualismo burgués. And now we go to New York for Más Caras by Yackie Kennedy.
What is this place?
Aprende inglés con Inglés Junior. Mira lo divertido que es.
La subjetividad es también una institución.
Y pones la vida en acción. Clásico y preso. Inglés Junior, el curso de inglés que divierte.
Es nuestra propia subjetividad burguesa la que impide el tránsito.
Who am I to you? Who am I?
Después de tu trabajo, falta amor en mí.
Hasta que la teoría psicoanalítica nos vuelva a encontrar. El fundamento de la liberación, la recuperación de un poder colectivo. Ese aparato será, en cada uno, una máquina infernal.
Ça, tu vas leur casser la tête et pour l'instant, vaut mieux pas. Voilà.
Qu'est-ce que si tu restes là chez Manon, qu'est-ce que tu auras comme truc? Si tu donnes mon, qu'est-ce que tu feras? Tu seras un jour quoi? Tu seras chef d'atelier?
Absolument pas, j'ai aucune chance. Absolument pas, j'ai aucune chance. Absolument pas, j'ai aucune chance. Absolument pas, j'ai aucune chance.
¡Minacito! Que no se te ocurriera poner los ojos en él. ¡Y los pusiste! ¡Escuincla babosa! ¡Te atreviste! ¡Pero te va a pesar! ¡Te va a pesar!
Con la nueva base Maggi para guisar carne.
USDA Choice Top Sirloin Steak, just $3.99.
That's good news.
Luego preparo la base Maggi que trae los ingredientes en la medida justa.
Who have you made me out to be? Who have you made me out to be?
La tenaz lucha de un pueblo por reconquistar el territorio de sus antepasados.
And new golden fried clams, also $3.99.
More good news.
Try our baked lemon butter scrod, just $3.99.
That is good news.
Televisión Nacional.
¡Qué bien! ¡Quítate, vieja porra! ¡Por favor! ¡Ya la voy a matar! ¡No, por favor! ¡Vamos! ¡Dios mío! ¡Cállate! ¡Tú besándote con mi hombre! ¡No, por favor! ¡Ya mi programa!
Ocultando el descubrimiento de la lucha de clases incluida en la subjetividad del hombre como núcleo de su existencia más individual. Ese aparato aparato será en cada uno una máquina infernal. Una máquina infernal. La recuperación de un poder colectivo.
Yo quería agradeceros al equipo, yo quería agradeceros al equipo, yo quería agradeceros al equipo, yo quería agradeceros al equipo.
Y a tu mamá también. No mames.
¿Qué? Oye, ¿quién toca la sandunga? La sandunga. El
La subjetividad es también una institución.
Which mask do you prefer?
Which mask do you prefer?
Which mask do you prefer? Which mask do you
Ocultando el descubrimiento de la lucha de clases incluida en la subjetividad del hombre como núcleo de su existencia más individual.
Un gobierno de facto. Sucede que seguramente hay algunas generaciones, sobre todo de jóvenes, que no tienen muy claro todo lo que sucedió.
¡Esta mujer está loca!
Are they smoking? Or are they gay? It's okay to smoke.
¡Viva la democracia! Saque de meta y va a corresponder al saque de meta y va a corresponder.
La subjetividad. La subjetividad.
Pero hoy me ven más.
Será en cada uno una máquina infernal.
Looks like you've learned to make great chicken.
Only way to serve our customers right.
It's so nice, nice to feel so good about a meal, so good about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Are they smoking? Or are they gay? It's okay to smoke.
Tap for a beautiful drink. Tap for beautiful people. Tap, you're beautiful to me. Real Cola tastes just 1 calorie. Tap.
Hasta que la teoría psicoanalítica nos vuelva a encontrar el fundamento de la liberación y la recuperación de un poder colectivo.
Who have you made me out to be?
So I really feel like dancing.
Try sheer energy, because nothing beats a great pair of legs.
54 reformas. Otro paso a la democracia.
Which mask do you prefer?
Which mask do you prefer? Which mask do you prefer?
Which mask do you
Ese aparato será en cada uno una máquina infernal.
Tengo miedo de la noche.
La subjetividad.
You need only one shampoo. Clairol introduces 7 shampoos for the real world.
Week, time helps you understand the spoils of war, the diplomatic and human costs of victory in Lebanon and the Falklands.
Read time and understand. The sunshine and smooth, refreshing mountain dew.
Constitucional, el consejero de Estado Alberto.
That's just 8 calories. New sugar-free Jello gelatin. Give in to the taste.
Una máquina infernal.
Is it sugar-free? How can it be? Give in to the taste. The taste.
What is this place?
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Yackie. We would take a 5-minute break, let everybody recuperate and take a deep breath, and then come back together for the discussion and an interesting conversation. Thank you. Machst du? Ja. Mach ich nichts. Ach so, sind wir schon gell?
Oh yeah, cool.
Hi, great, back again. Thank you everybody for being here today. It was really an amazing experience for me, for transitstation team, and for everyone who watched this. And the performances that we have witnessed live as a momentary virtual liveness occurred with their simultaneous projection, which you have had in conjunction with your live performance. And it explored the phenomena associated with orientation and disorientation, aspects of past and present, time shifts, time overlaps, image overlaps, to maneuver through boundaries of visual representation across the spectrum of technologies, virtual boundaries. It has only been 40 years in 1980 when the digital world became and began to operate through the internet, followed by mobile devices and social media. Further, the virtual world was established around 1978 in the sign of communities, chat rooms, and the multi-user dimension. I would now like to open all cameras for us to be in this discussion and to reflect on what we have experienced, what you have seen. And most of all, I'm interested in the difference of what has been transmitted as the limitation of the two-dimensional screen content and your own personal self-engagement of your three-dimensional presence in the unseen spaces, which were your spaces, which is your intimate room, and how your emotional impact was present with you during your performance.
Sorry, Dagmar, is this an open question to everybody?
Yes, this is an open question to everyone.
Okay, well, I can start if that suits. For me, initially, the fact that I had to use a projection was like a choice that I didn't make on my own. It was like given by the festival as a framework, let's say. So initially I thought, okay, wow, that's interesting. I've never thought about it. And then, but I was still a bit skeptical about how this would influence my practice. But the thing is that then, as I started to rehearse and do some experimentations for this festival, I found out that it's really so interesting because it already creates a dialogue in time and space. And in my case, I have used an earlier video performance of my own, and I have used that as a background, and then I was interacting with what happened in the actual performance. So it was also like an inner dialogue in what concerns my own artistic practice, like because the video performance has been done 3 years ago, whereas now I'm kind of interacting with what was there. This is one thing that, like, it can be self-reflective for me as an artist as well. The other thing is that it can open up different different readings, because sometimes it can be also humorous if you try to interact with the elements like in the live performance. So it can create like some absurd images as well. But the most important thing for me is that it really opens up the space for experimentation, and it's both visually interesting. I mean, I'm speaking for my own, of course, I'm not speaking for everybody, but also like it opens up different questions in what regards like identity and our position in the nowness, and what is happening now and what can be used as shown as being happening now. Yeah, so I think it's a powerful medium that blends both visual and performative elements. And this was my experience, if that answers your question.
I just want to say, Eleni, in retrospective of your work and what I observed, I didn't feel that you were using the projection. It was actually, it became, with your interaction, it became the object. It was a highly acute, visible object, which was, it had equal value than to you being almost, well, you were as a person invisible, but your actions were visible with it. So I feel there was an equilibrium between the two. It was not simply a usage. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Like, and in some moments of it, I just wanted to leave the video to speak on its own. And I liked this kind of game created between what is the performance and what is the video. So which one is more important, and who is there to decide? And so this kind of remains as a question, because it makes us wonder which is the criterion with which we decide which is more important actually. Is it the visual power of it? Is it the fact that it's performed live, or?
Okay. Eleni, would you, or Patricia, would you like to comment?
Yeah, for me it was a little bit different experience because I already work with projections. So I make a video element that's special for the projection in my body. So I think at this time it's really is becoming a new way of performance art, these live events that connect people from everywhere. So it's like you miss the audience, but in your colleagues and your artist colleagues, you can see that you have an audience. And it's sometimes when we do a live performance, you feed a lot on the energy and even in your nerves. So it's like sometimes for me it's hard to work by myself, even that I usually have my boyfriend to help me with the technicality aspects. So, but it's really stressful with all the technology sometimes to put like, it was the first time for me to playing with different cameras and video on top of the camera that I put it here because I'm very happy with my moon. But the space itself, it becomes a completely different thing. It's not, it's beyond life. I don't know if I answer your question.
How do you mean beyond life? How would you like to differentiate that?
It's because the audience is not there, but you can see that it's there. It's really hard to put it in words sometimes because of this last times I'm doing more this streaming events, and the first one that I made, I didn't feel it that is live, because you're always constrained by the limits of your camera, right? Or the limits even of your equipment, if it's good. So I invested in a streaming camera and everything. So, but with the continuous of doing this event, so I've this energy increased itself. So the more I do, the more I can try to connect again with the feeling of the audience. You know, that's more or less what I wanted to say.
I think that your dual camera approach to your performance made a real contribution to this projection streaming.
Thank you.
I admired your handling of the technology.
Thank you.
It really did expand the space, and in that restless search that we're making these days for a simulacrum of live experience. That was very close. That was a really I think important way of manifesting that, because with our eyes and with a slight relocation of our bodies, we can change real life experience quite easily in microseconds. And your dual camera thing really gave it, I felt, it almost addressed an ancient question for example, in Cubist painting, where how you're showing what side of what. It created a lot of spatiality, and I thought that was a really neat thing.
I also wanted to, like in a live action, usually the audience can move around to see what they want to see in detail. So I wanted to try to recreate a little bit of that, because we have the potential, with everything that we have now, we have the potential to continue make this more and more live, and not, people sometimes maybe think, oh, it's just a live, I will watch it in video after. But we know that it's, for us, it's completely different, because you feed your energy at that point. And so, some things go wrong, you struggle with the materials. It's like, it's live, and it's very important for me to give the audience a little bit more power to see.
Thank you. Great. Sandra, would you like to comment and reflect?
I think a way of looking at it would be like when you look in a mirror. And when you look in a mirror, I don't know if you experience this, but I do, that my presence actually goes into that mirror. So there's this very strange situation, because I can see myself at the moment, but I know that you can see me also. So there's a duality of things going on. So, but when I was performing today, there was so much emotion and energy within me that I really needed to get out. And I've had just so many things going on that this energy was just built up really inside me. And I had envisaged that at the end of the performance, I would make this verbal sound. So not only with the sound, my voice was layered into the sound piece that I created, which was also from a recording of bees that I made. And I had wanted to make this sound in real time also at the end. But I felt that even though there was the constraint of the 10 minutes that we were given, and we were given that time to make the performance within, I felt that the element which exists when you are making a real-time performance, for me anyway, is that I have to be intuitive. And a really important thing is that when it's over, it's over. And I think it would be false to try and continue it just for the sake of the 10 minutes. So my performance today was that little bit shorter than I had, planned for. But I think that's important too, that when we are making these digital performances, that we allow ourselves that space, that, that it's a true expression, that we are allowed to say, look, this is, I've given everything. And I had that release, and I had the release with the quartz, and it was almost like a healing thing. And then I give my last look to project that to whoever is seeing it, and so that they could maybe experience that too. And just in relation to everybody else's performances, I missed the start because I was preparing. And Patricia, I really look forward to seeing, sorry, my cockerel is crowing in the background, if you can hear him. I don't know, I've got my sound on the lowest, so you can't. But yeah, no, I really look forward to seeing the other performances. I'm really looking forward to Patricia's. That sounds really interesting with the 2 cameras. And I caught the last few performances at the end, and there was some really interesting and great stuff going on. And I think it is that mix of feeling, like even as I'm talking here, I'm projected into my image, like I feel I am when I look in a mirror, but then I pull myself back into my body, and that was happening within the performance as well. So there was a mix of, being embodied within my own physical self, but then also feeling the sense of myself being almost on another plane within this digital realm. So I think it's quite interesting. Yeah, so thank you.
Great, thank you, Sandra. And I did very much pick up these moments when you delivered yourself to yourself in your, what you called release. It was an emotional release, and it was not only the pictorial awareness of the camera. And, this is what I'm interested in. I'm looking for these kind of gaps, or for these furrows, where the 2 worlds actually are meeting each other, or where they are overlapping, or where, the struggle actually begins.
Yeah.
And that struggle has an emotional impact, and it gets kind of forgotten, or maybe loses the surface of the 2-dimensional image. So thank you so much for being so truthful in that sense, and all of you actually were, and as performance artists we are most of the time. Okay.
Thank you, Dagmar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yackie, you were the last one, and I'm still kind of overwhelmed with the imagery, but maybe you would like to say something about your work and yourself.
Yes, I'm very intrigued by the question that Eleni posed of what is the performance? Is it the body in motion? Is it the projection? Is it the sound? And to me, this is the experience of the digital, this overwhelming decision we have to make every time we're on the computer or on the phone of what will we pay attention to, what ads will we discard, what notifications will we look away from. That moment by moment decision, the performance that we have to do with the digital, I think is very interesting to question, which is why I like this format that forces us to look at how this e-performance is distinct from a presential performance that opens pathways to experimentation with sound, with projection, with montage, that I think poses some really interesting questions about what we pay attention to, why, what sustains our attention. I also found as a performer, there was this curational element where the audience can only see within this box. So I have to now decide, what does the audience have to see? What should they see? A type of curation that I don't think is present as much in presential work that I've done, which is really interesting. Putting things in the audience's line of sight or taking them away to accentuate certain things, because attention is different over Zoom than it is in person. And I think it is exciting to explore those differences and explore the feelings that we get from this type of performance versus a presential performance.
Yes, I think that's true. In live performance, as a viewer, you can look away, even momentarily. But your work today, it was so focused. I quote from it, "Looks like you've learned to make great chicken." Do you remember that? Do you remember that line? And there, the immersion was such that there were moments when your face and the masks really blended beautifully with the background. Not blended, that's a lame kind of a word, but there were some happenstances of matching up. And the tension was almost unbearable because they didn't last very long. Those matching ups, because of the quick cutting, as a demonstration of the projection with performance technique, can we call it a technique? I thought that made a really, really strong contribution. It was really enjoyable. Not easy, I would have to say, not easy. And as
some of the jingles are stuck in my head throughout the week, so I'll find them saying them to myself as I'm brushing my teeth or whatever, which is funny how that has now sunk into my daily practice.
Interesting. Were there any, you mentioned in the artist statement that I used for the introduction, some fragments from your grandmother's family mythology stories. I was looking for those in the projection. Can you give me an example of any of those, or were they sort of just implicit?
Sure. There were some video clips of the video coverage during the 1980 plebiscite in Uruguay that got rid of the dictatorship, where the people overwhelmingly voted to get rid of the dictatorship, which is a very prominent monument in, I think, family mythologies, where people were, what they were doing, projecting this and then projecting images of the Uruguayan army. I thought was an really interesting way to juxtapose and to force consideration of what that looks like onto the body, what a no vote, what a yes vote, what voting is on a corporal level.
I just want to say that as your performance was one of the performances that I was able to see, I found it really intriguing at the start, but then this overwhelming intensity of what we're being bombarded with kind of came, and I had planned initially to do something similar, and I was putting clips together, and then I chose rather than doing that, I chose to just project the noise, like that interference noise, that it's like it's interfering. But I really got that from your performance today. It was very, very strong. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah. And I also felt that the content of the imagery felt like an overwhelming pathetic mirror, of where we are, and you were right there in the middle of it. For me, that was very strong. Thank you.
The other thing that I just wanted to mention as well, which kind of comes back to Dagmar's question about the live, and this idea of it's kind of a question for all of us, really, because we are experiencing this in real time ourselves, but the viewers are also experiencing it in real time at the moment. And in the world, there is an interconnection that we can't really put our finger on within this world. So I think that there is some kind of beyond just the digital sharing that happens, and I have found this. I've participated in a lot of group live performances, and there is this other kind of connection that seems to exist that goes beyond just the visual kind of interaction that we're getting digitally. So I think that's, you know, I don't know how to describe that. It's just, I think it's just the interconnection of the world and everything within it. So I think that's.
I think you're right, Sandra. Personally, I have the feeling that if we were all suddenly and magically realized physically together in one space, having done this together,
yeah,
there would be a tremendous amount of shared understanding, boom, like that.
Yeah.
I think that's slightly what you're saying, that there is actually, we're not limited to the gratification that we have doing these things virtually. There is actually a tremendous potential for so-called real life communality in the process.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of the point. I think that's why we're doing it.
Oh yeah.
And Jeong-eun, please talk a little bit about your experience. I felt it was very strong in that it was very oblique, and I could. What I was interested in was the kind of mystery of the image kind of overlapping and, you know, not knowing where you are. And I think this kind of sign of disorientation and also the sign of not knowing where the image is, it felt that was the part that you were also wrestling with through way of movement, which was dance at the beginning, and then it became movement. And I kind of liked, you know, when it flipped, when it no longer fitted to what we think, or maybe you think, or you had an idea of the dance.
My intention was to connect with myself and also with audience. But in fact, I think I struggled a bit, and I sympathize with what Patricia and Sandra said about performing alone, because dance is really an embodied thing. So I get a lot from being in space with others, and I was using my imagination and the video projection as a way to be with another body, and also using the locations of different cameras as points to connect with others. But I found that it was a struggle for me.
But I mean, it's a good struggle. I think it's now, you know, the time that we experience our work in this way, to experience and to live truthfully to the struggle is a very valuable element. And I just felt that in your work, it became that aspect of it, which you kind of identified with it, you know? I thought that was very strong.
I would say that if we wanted to place your work, Jeong-eun, in an art historical context, I was most struck by the painterliness of it. I felt we were in a living Émile Nolde, or a kind of a dark Norwegian sort of emotional landscape. It was. I felt it was very rich and very painterly in the handling of the color, and I'm saying that in the context of Dagmar's observations as well, where that seeking after a sense of place. There was a lot of implication about depth, I thought. which is quite a tricky thing to pull off in this digital medium. I thought that the fact that the scope of your projection was actually quite far away. I thought that was a really interesting, innovatory way to approach it. It gave us the opportunity to actually get in, sort of get in there. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And last of all, I would like to ask Sundar. I'm not seeing his camera on at the moment. It would be great, Sundar, if you, there you are, great. If you can unmute yourself on your device. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Sundar, and I'm really very grateful that it worked and we have you here from so far away. And I would like to ask you how you felt about your work when you were in the performance, based on the comments that we all have made at the moment. We cannot hear you. Why? Aber ist es off on? Und da ist es auch on.
Ja, no sound. Microphone.
Ah. Maybe it's the computer's microphone that is off.
Hello, check. It's
there we go.
Yes. Okay.
It's audible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great privilege to really work with you. So it's a great pleasure, and this is really very first time for to do this. I'm using this virtual medium. My about my performance, it's really seeking for realization, and it's a very short movement of the capture the movement that I release from my performance, and some of the things that I do in not planned it. So some of the area I'll just for spontaneous way to do. So some of the way I didn't plan. So and that marks is a god marks. It's quite related with our mythology, and this coming month we have a big festival in Nepal. So it's a little bit combination of mythical way and the way I did in always did I did in symbolic way. So it's a quite combination of that kind of performance. So maybe I'll do some experimental work on maybe I'll do some work in future for experimental work in future. And this one is really great experience for me for doing this visual medium. So thanks to the team.
Great. Sundar, what was really interesting, what I observed, and maybe we all did, was that the camera was blurring every now and then. And at first I thought, oh, it's like a mistake, or, we're so tricky about something being clear and unclear. But then I realized also that the blurring almost merged with your movement and created its own rhythm. And, you know, I don't know if that was intentional or not, and maybe it doesn't matter, but, you know, it was something that occurred, which I felt in a way also relating to your intention, to your concept, began to make sense, you know. So if you are looking at the documentation, observe what has happened, you know, there, and maybe that can give you some insight as well.
Well, it's an example of, I'll use the word again, painterliness of these media, because that was actually the autofocus on the camera, selecting a slightly different focus point according to what Sundar was doing. And I thought that was, I agree with you, Dagmar, I thought that was like totally fabulous, you know. Wow, it's just, there's the autofocus actually sort of joining in, as it were, and making a contribution to the performance. I thought it was terrific.
Yeah.
So that's something to look out for, as, you know, not at, oh no, there's technical fault, but no, you know, real active, live, alphanumeric contribution to the real-time event. I also thought that you know, you set out in your proposal for the webinar to take note of Nepalese tradition and ancient symbols in a contemporary context and a philosophical context, and certainly the mask triggered off those associations for me immediately. I thought it was a really made a very, very strong image, and then along at the end comes this tracing on the A4 piece of paper, which brought us, boom, right up to date. You know? And where that planarity and the crinkling and so on, against the steadfast, in juxtaposition with the steadfast and enduring imagery of, I assume that's a kind of a God figure. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
The mask, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
fantastic. Let's just take a quick peek at the Q&A. If we have any questions in the chat.
Yes, I can read one here.
Yeah, maybe.
I think this was when we were, I'm not sure it was when we were discussing Yackie or exactly when this came. It came at 15:02. It could be the multi-connection between the body and the machine, and on the other side, the body of the machine. A little bit like what we were just saying about Sundar's performance. And Eleni agrees. She says the body of the machine is an interesting way to express it, Fausto. Fausto Grossi is an attendee at the webinar. He was here yesterday too.
Yes.
Multi-layering globally, says Kaiki. Kaiki adds, thank you everybody for your great performances today. Each was so different from the other. However, I could see some synergies and correlating lines between them.
Great. Maybe I would like to take note of one thing which I also mentioned yesterday, is that in the time of our experiences now of performance work, artwork, it being realized, and the multiple ways that it can take, is that there is a chance of understanding change, and not take change and what it means, indicates, to take for granted, and to maybe dissect the idea of change in slow motion. You know, change happens quickly, yeah, from 1 second to another. We are used to that in the networks of social media, etc., and all other means. But for ourselves, you know, I think to reconsider ideas of change and what that does to us and our work, to take it on a slow motional level, I think is something that I definitely am experiencing at the moment, and I would like to share that with you.
Apropos that point, there's a question from an attendee, Sarah Riseborough, who addresses, I think, a portion of what Dagmar has just said. How does performing in a domestic space change the performance for the performer?
Mm.
Does anybody particularly want to address that?
Maybe we could, yeah, we leave it as an open question, but maybe I think Eleni might have touched upon that at the very beginning. Eleni, would you like to comment?
Yeah, well, it does change the performance, and of course Sarah knows it because she's a performer herself. But I would say that for me, the most important difference is that you are performing in your space, which makes it kind of easier to organize a space and have kind of almost maximum control over the situation, because it's only you that can set up things and so on. On the other hand, the energy of the audience is, for me, is really missing out there. So like, it's harder to you have to switch on into a different state of presence, which is that of the performers, while being in your own domestic space. So in a way, it's kind of more, I don't know, it's more, it's less natural for me. I would use that word. It has some good aspects in it, because as I said before, you have pure control of the situation. You're not afraid that lights will not work or a disruption might happen or anything. But at the same time, you don't get recharged by the audience. And I think this is an important element for performance artists, because part of our work is based on the liveness and on the nowness and into what kind of feedback we get from the audience, and it's kind of constantly shaping itself. So,
but I think in terms of the slow motion of change, I feel it is important to know and to liberate, to understand that in your most intimate space, whether somebody's there or not, you are with your energies and you are able to release and to turn over in the absence of the public, in the absence of, you know, another body being there. That would be the challenge, and that would be the quest that we take now.
I'd just like to bring back the point which I mentioned earlier, which is the interconnection of everything within this world that we live in. And you can tap into those energies and different planes if you can get to that point. So like for me today, I tapped into the quartz as to get its you know, the healing energy from that to release what I needed to release. And also I felt a connection with whoever is out there. I mean, like, you know, without getting all like woo or anything like that, that we are a very interconnected species, and it does not necessarily need that physical proximity to tap into that. And I think that's where I'm coming from.
Perfect. Yeah, Sandra, great. I mean, you're summing it up, and this is you said it maybe more clearly, but this is exactly what I was thinking about as well. And it's you know, a great fuse for us to end this day and to start another day tomorrow of Voices number 3, this webinar weekend. And I'm inviting all of you today to join tomorrow as an attendee and to follow what will happen tomorrow. And as I said at the beginning, Tatiana is not today here with us, and we will do everything we can to integrate her video projection into our schedule tomorrow. And tomorrow we will start at 3 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, Dagmar. Thank you, Charles, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Very special.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
And see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you also to Christian, Charles, and myself as a team who have worked together on this to make this work. Thank you. Bye-bye.